What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream where we're going to start learning 2D game development using Godot. This is an engine I'm not really familiar with. I wanted to learn a little bit more because I kind of want to learn more about 2D game development, and Unreal Engine is not the best for 2D game dev. And so, so instead of we're going to still do Unreal Engine live streams. Every couple days of the week, continue our gas course project, but every once in a while I want to be continuing to try to learn Godot and learn more about 2D game dev, try to make simpler games, try to maybe participate in game jams, or at least use game jams as a means to continually try to learn and make smaller games. Again, still keeping up with the gas course project and everything like that, just so we continue learning with Unreal. So we're gonna follow the tutorials from the Godot docs. I also, in a couple of these live streams, we'll watch some tutorials from, I forget the name of that YouTube channel, the one where the guy went away and then came back. He was doing Unity tutorials, but then he started doing Godot, so we'll watch those as well. For anyone wanting to follow along in any kind of way, this is the doc that I'll be following. We'll stick with 2D for now, and we'll maybe move on to 3D stuff later. The primary focus is 2D at the time, and we'll see how much we can learn. We'll only be streaming for like an hour and a half, maybe. Depends on how fast we get through stuff. So let's get started. So you'll see the tutorial thing on the right hand side. Not sure how well you guys will see that. If you think it's pointless having that there, let me know and I'll remove it and kind of follow off screen. But let's get started. So your first 2D game. In this step-by-step tutorial series, you'll create your first complete 2D game with Godot. By the end of the series, you'll have a simple yet complete game of your own, like the image below, and it's a very simple, I guess, avoiding game. So you'll learn how the Godot editor works, how to structure a project, and build a 2D game. Note, this project is an introduction to the Godot engine. It assumes that you have some programming experience already. If you're new to programming entirely, you start at the scripting languages. I think we're fine. I know a little bit of Python, I know the syntax, I know some C++. Shouldn't be too bad to jump in and understand. So the game is called Dodge the Creeps. Your character must move and avoid the enemies for as long as possible. You will learn to create a complete 2D game with the Godot editor, structure a simple game project, move the player character and change its sprite, spawn random enemies, count the score. So I'm guessing it'll also cover collision detection. It says and more. I wonder if it'll also show you how to package the project into like an executable. It shouldn't be too bad. You'll find another series where you'll create a similar game, but in 3D. We recommend you start with this one though. So why start with 2D? If you're new to game development or unfamiliar with Godot, we recommend starting with 2D games. This will allow you to become comfortable with both before tackling 3D games, which tend to be more complicated. You can download the complete version of this game here, the GitHub. We're not going to download that, we don't need it. So if you're an experienced programmer, you can find the complete demo source code here. We already wrote that. We prepared some game assets you'll need to download, so you can jump straight to the code. You can download them by clicking on the link below, so we'll go ahead and do that. We'll put that into our desktop, I suppose. Boom. Oh, I did edit with Notepad++, that nonsense. WinRAR, extract files. We'll just, did I hit cancel? My mouse is so sensitive sometimes. All right. So here's our assets. So art, fonts, and a README, cool. So contents, setting up a project. So in this short first part, we'll set up and organize the project, launch Godot and create a new project. So new. When creating the new project, you only need to choose a valid project path. You can leave the other default settings alone. Okay, so download this thing. The archive contains blah, blah, blah. Okay. So project name, it's like Dodge the Creeps. So Dodge the Creeps. I know I have a explicit thing, sample projects, new folder, Dodge the Creeps, should be fine. Select current folder, all good. So renderer, does it say anything about the renderer? Or let's see. So the game is designed for portrait mode, so we need to adjust the size of the game window. Click on project settings. I mean, is this all, do I have to do anything special here? Like, it's just creating the new project. Is it mobile? Compatibility, get, sure. I guess we'll just do create and edit. Yeah, let's also add our content, I guess. So Godot, sample projects, dodge the creeps. I mean, does it? So the project folder will look like this. So I think I gotta just dump it in here. I don't know if I gotta create. I don't think I won't bring the readme, and I'll just copy. All right, I did move. Whoops. I'll copy stuff back just in case. That's Steam. Should close Steam just in case. Okay, so I gotta go click on project settings. Yeah, I really shouldn't be checking Facebook. All right, so project, so we gotta do what? Right, so click on project settings, open the product settings window. In the left column, open display, window tab. So we could change the height here, 480 to 720. 720. Windowed, primary center screen, everything seems to be the same. Also under the stretch options, set mode to canvas items. What does that mean? An aspect keep, okay. This ensures that the game scales consistently on different size screens. Okay, good to know. Close. Organizing the project. In this project, we will make 3 independent scenes, player, mob, and HUD, which will combine into the game's main scene. In a larger project, it might be useful to create folders to hold the various scenes and their scripts, but for this relatively small game, you can save your scenes and scripts in the project's root folder, identified by res://. You can see your project folders in the file system dock in the lower left-hand corner, so it's right here. So here's the art, here's the fonts, icon, SVG. So with this project in place, we're ready to design the player scene in the next lesson. So creating the player scene. So I kind of wrap my head around what these things are. So like scenes aren't the same things as levels, I assume. Maybe in a 2D context it is. Just trying to think, like, you know, what's the structure of, like, what's a scene compared to what a level is, compared to like what a character is, and like a controller and things like that. So hopefully it'll cover these aspects. So with the project settings in place, we can start working on the player controlled character. Cool. The first scene will define the player object. One of the benefits of creating a separate player scene is that we can test it separately even before we created other parts of the game. So to begin, we need to choose a root node for the player's object. As a general rule, a scene's root node should reflect the object's desired functionality, what the object is. So click the other node button and add area 2D node to the scene. Okay. So scene, other node, and they said area 2D. So node 2D, collision object 2D, area 2D. Okay, so something we would need collision for. So create. So Godot will display a warning icon next to the node in the scene tree, which it does. So what does it say? Node configuration warning. This node has no shape, so it cannot collide or interact with other objects. Consider adding a collision shape 2D or collision polygon 2D as a child to define its shape. Okay. So we can ignore it for now, they'll address it later. So with area 2D, we get into tag objects that overlap or run into the player. Change the node's name to player by double clicking it, okay. Oop. I guess you could do also F2. Change the node's name, blah, blah, blah. Now that we've set the scene's root node, we can add additional nodes that give it more functionality. Before we add any children to the player node, we want to make sure we don't accidentally move or resize them by clicking on them. Select the node and click the icon to the right of the lock. Its tooltip says make selected node's children not selectable. So we select this, and it's this one. Make selected children, yeah. So boom. Save the scene. Okay. What do we need to save it? Is it just player.ts, so T scene, I suppose? We'll keep it player just for consistency here. So for this project, we'll be following the Godot naming conventions. A GD script uses Pascal case, variables and functions use snake case, and constants use all caps. So it uses Pascal. So I'm guessing is this a GD script? It's a scene. It's not a script. Doesn't really tell you what you should save it as. That's kind of weird. I'm gonna assume Pascal case, so I'll just do player with capital. Does it have to be in a folder or anything? I'm gonna guess not for now, but maybe that's how people will organize their structure on a per project kind of thing. So save. So sprite animation. So click on the player node and add Control A, a child node, animate sprite 2D. Okay, so these things are kind of like, I'm assuming, components. So we have a player object, has a, gives you basic collision detection and stuff like that, area 2D. And now when we add a child node, maybe the connection here to Unreal is that these are components. At least that's what I'm going to be thinking about it. So let's right click. Add child node, animated sprite 2D, create. The animated sprite 2D will handle the appearance and animations for our player. Notice that there is a warning symbol next to the node. An animated sprite 2D requires a sprite frames resource, which is a list of the animations it can display. To create one, find the sprite frames property under the animation tab in the inspector and click empty new sprite frames. Click again to open up the sprite frames panel. So we click this over here, animation, sprite frames, new sprite frames. Hold on, the music was kind of loud in my ear there for a second. And then click again to open up the animation frames here at the bottom, okay? On the left is a list of animations. Click the default one and rename it to walk, okay? So they're doing lowercase here. Then click the add animation button to create a second animation named up. So lowercase up, right? Find the player images in the file system tab. They're in the R folder you unzipped earlier. Drag the two images for each animation named player gray up and player gray walk. So art. So do I drag it in like that? And then walk. Like that. And now, how do you scrub between them? Okay. Okay. And up. Okay. Cool, cool. So we got that. The player images are a bit too large for the game window, so we need to scale them down. Click on the animated sprite 2D node. And set the scale property here to 0.5. Okay, and it's locked here, so I assume that's what lets you match it correctly here. Cool. You can find it in the inspector node under the 2D node 2D heading. We already found it. Cool beans. So finally, add a collision shape 2D as a child of player. collision shape 2D, yeah. This will determine the player's hitbox or the bounds of its collision area. For this character, a capsule shape 2D node gives the best fit. Okay, so under shape, I say capsule shape 2D. I mean, how can I zoom in on it? Okay. Okay, I see the capsule. Using the two size handles, resize the shape to cover the sprite. I mean, I guess I should stop the animation. They're using the up default thing. I mean, all right, how do I reset? Attach script. We're gonna have to do that eventually, I assume. So animation, no. Autoplay on load. Is there like a reset? Delete frame. Insert empty before. Paste. All right, I'm gonna stop it there. Like, I feel like double clicking or right clicking and doing something would better do that. But whatever, let's pull this. Oh, I'm pulling in the wrong thing. Collision shape. More or less good enough, I'd imagine. Like, so where is this on this panel here? Is it the transform that I'm messing with at the moment? Canvas item, visibility, and ordering, texture, ordering, index, okay. I don't know where exactly I'm scaling. So disabled one-way collision. What does that mean? Sets whether this collision shape should only detect collision on one side, top or bottom. Okay. Interesting. Now visibility, modulate, blah, blah, blah. Let's not worry about that. So when you finish, your player scene should look like this, which it does. Awesome. Make sure to save the scene after these changes. In the next part, we'll add a script. Cool. So in this lesson, we'll add player movement, animation, and setup to detect collisions. To do so, we need to add some functionality that we can't get from a built-in node. So we'll add a script, click on the player, and click attach script. Can you attach a script to a shape part? You can, but we're gonna be on the player. So attach script. To do that, blah, blah, blah. Click the player node, attach script. In the script settings window, you can leave the default settings alone. Just click create. You got GD script, area 2D, class name. I don't see anything for class name. Template, no default, built-in script false. Player, da, da, da. If this is your first time encountering GD script, please read the scripting language before continuing. Maybe we'll review this as well, just so we're as familiar as we can be with it. But let's see, let's go ahead and create. So we got the script extends area 2D, so that is inherits 2D, so function ready. It's called when the node enters the scene for the first time. So is that begin play or is that a construction script? I wonder if that will tell me in the tutorial. That'd be good to know. So start by declaring the member variables to this object we'll need. Okay. So at export var speed, so scripts are just one. So there's no header and there's no CPP. It's all just one thing. But again, scripts shouldn't be too crazy, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they'll talk about like the paradigm of how you should be kind of coding these things. So at export var speed, equals 400. And they say pixels per second. Okay. And I wonder, again, I guess since it's, if it's like Python, then the types are just explicit based on how you're using them. Like you don't have to be like float 400 or int 400. It'll just kind of be how you want it to be based on the context. So using the export keyword on the first variable speed allows us to set its value in the inspector. Okay. So that means what? Processor script. So there's add metadata. Not sure where it would be added. There would have to be a speed variable somewhere here. No. Maybe the tutorial will show us. I'm not sure. Allows us to set its value in the inspector. So I guess anything that's like at export, you could compare it to like a public. I don't think it would be the same as a public variable. It would be more of a edit anywhere, blueprint, read write kind of thing. So using the export keyword on the first variable speed allows us to set its value in the inspector. Oh, I see it up here. I'm stupid. Right there. So player, and then player.gd, all the variables will be right there. This can be handy for values that you want to be able to adjust, just like a node's built-in properties. Click on the player node and you'll see a property now appear in the inspector in a new section with the name of the script. Remember, if you change the value here, it'll overwrite the value written in the script. So I wonder if you can make categories for these things. So you could be like, under a player movement category of this script, you would have all these things, kind of like how you would do the, like in C++, for example, in Unreal, you have like a categories thing. I wonder if I could find an example. Yeah, category. I wonder if there's a way to have some form of like uProperty thing for scripts. It would make sense if they did. Did they say anything? Your player GD script should already contain a _ready and a _process function. If you didn't select the default template shown above to create these functions while following the lesson. Let's do some Googling to figure out this one question I have for Godot. So Godot script variable categories. There's a Reddit post. See the adding script categories section here. Excuse me. So export group. So you would group them like this. So at export group, and we would say character movement. And now it's like this, which I like a little bit more. So that's great. Good to know. We have a lot to learn, but so far things are making some sense. All right. Right now I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, we're back. So let's continue. So yeah, we have the underscore ready and underscore process function. So the underscore ready function is called when a node enters the scene tree, which is a good time to find the size of the game window. So again, I don't know if this is begin play or if this is more of a construction script or anything like that. Can we find information here? So func underscore ready. Godot. Is this begin play? All right, another Reddit post explains to me like I'm 5. This ready is called on a node after underscore ready is called on a node after it and all of its children are added to the scene tree. Parents thing after blah blah blah. So added to it seems like it's a construction script based on. So the underscore ready function is an excellent place to find nodes, initialize variables, or connect signals, because at this point you can be certain that all child nodes have been instantiated. So I'm guessing it's a kind of like a construction script or like post-construction script, but before begin play, because you're not doing it. Not sure. Just still kind of confused on that, but we'll move on for the sake of continuing the tutorial. So they say the underscore ready function is called when a node enters the scene, which is a good time to find the size of the game window. So we can replace with the function body. So we say screen size equals get viewport size rec dot size. Okay. Does it give me any kind of smart IntelliSense? Does it tell me why is it red? So identifier screen size not declared in the current scope. So get underscore viewport underscore dot get rect dot size. No. So it's not called in the same scope. Identifier screen size not declared in the current scope. Huh? Why? Let me just copy directly from this just to be sure I didn't do anything wrong. No, still giving me a problem. So parse error identifier screen size is not declared in the current scope. Let's see if we can find what that really means. So Godot GD script, boom. So keep getting errors. So I literally just started learning how to use Godot. I have 0 experience with scripting, blah, blah, blah. The line, blah, 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 gets highlighted in red and get an error that says isn't declared in the current scope. Okay, so it's a similar problem. So did I miss a step? Yes, I did. There's var screen size. All right, I missed a step. Makes sense. Whoopsie doopsie. Checks out. User error. Compiler is always right. So using the export keyword on the first variable speed allows us to do that thing. Blah blah blah. Comes in handy. So we already did that. We learned how to make categories, which is nice. If you're using C#, you need to rebuild the project assemblies whenever you want to see new export variables or signals. This build can be manually triggered. I'm not gonna use C#. I'm gonna just stick with GD script. So we're there. Okay, so now we can use the underscore process function to find out what the player will do. And it has a delta, so this is every frame. This is tick. So we'll be able to update elements of our game, which we expect will change often for the player. We need to do the following. Check for input, move in the given direction, play the appropriate animation. So first we need to check for input. Is the player pressing a key? For this game, we have 4 directional inputs to check. I guess we're gonna be doing, is it gonna be WASD? Or maybe the up, down, left, right arrows. So click on project settings to open the project setting window and click on the input map tab. Okay, so project settings. So this is gonna be kind of like how Unreal used to do it before they did the enhanced input thing. You would have this in the project settings and you define the input stuff there. So kind of similar. I wonder if there's any kind of more, I wonder what kind of input stuff you can really do in Godot. That would be interesting to try to figure out. So it's under input map. If you can click and hide built-in actions. Thanks for the follow by her, Grace. What do you mean? If you can click and hide built-in actions, I'm not sure where this built-in actions thing you're referring to. On that page. I'm not sure. Show built-in things. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I was confused. I was confused. Okay. Well, I'm just following along this tutorial as well. We need to assign a key. So there is built-in actions. So there's a bunch of stuff here. That's good to know. Based on the tutorial thing, we want to add a new action though. So move right is what they want us to do. So hit add. And now here's move right. So there is dead zone. Interesting. I mean, is there a way to define if it, I guess there has to be a way to define what is actually the action. So we need to assign a key to this action. Click the plus icon on the right. Open the event manager window. The listening for input field should automatically be selected by okay. The plus sign. Here we go. And then we can look for right. Oh, okay. That's so weird. What kind of filtering is this? So right, okay, so literally right on the arrow key. Okay. I guess we can also do like that. Those built-in actions you'll see again when you're using a template character script for player movement if you're not planning to define your own from scratch, just if you wondered where they got it. Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. That's good to know. Probably after we follow this Godot tutorial, maybe watch a few more videos. Then I'll maybe try to feel comfortable trying to build something from scratch. And you know, I don't think there's any game jams coming up. And I don't really want to do a game jam at the moment, but I'll use like those like game jam generator things to come up with an idea and try to do something very simple with it. Hey, Cuddly Zenny, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, and so I also have I have a gamepad here. I wonder if it'll pick up the gamepad. It does. Okay, so joypad axis 0 left stick, joystick right. That's cool. That's really cool. So select the OK button. The right key is now associated with the move right action. Awesome. So repeat these steps to add 3 more mappings. Okay, so add new action, move left. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Whoops. We're gonna do that. And we're gonna do that. And yeah, I'm guessing is there any more there's like additional options, but is there a way to like identify, I guess, modifiers to the joystick? Because there is this dead zone thing. Is that just applicable to like the joystick as well? Using gyro controls too. Interesting. Okay. I guess it'll just pick up whatever input that you have, which is nice. All right. So let's do the rest. So move up. And I'll just also do move down. So up is W. Up is up there. And then up is La. I'm not too sure about dead zone. That's a really good question. I haven't got experience with controllers yet. Sorry, so I don't know. No worries, no worries. I'm trying to just translate the context of what I know from Unreal Engine to Godot and try to bridge whatever gaps that I may have. Because yeah, Unreal has the enhanced input and you can define kind of different modifiers here. Let me open up my Unreal project just so I can have like a sense of things, try to connect dots where I can, you know. Move down, we could do S, down arrow, and then down joystick. Good. So that seems like everything there for us. We can play with dead. Once we have the character moving, maybe we can come back to this and look at the dead zone stuff. So Godot tends to avoid holding your hand, but makes it simple to make things yourself. Okay. Maybe there's documentation on like defining unique dead zones or like being able to dynamically adjust dead zones or something like that. We can figure that out. So our input map should look like that, which it does. So yeah, this is the Unreal project, and we have input, and we have our input mapping context, and we have one for gamepad. And when it comes to joystick stuff, we have, let's see, ability, movement, move, camera, here's move. And we have all these modifiers for dead zones, radials, heading type, and all that stuff. So this is probably this is the equivalent, I would imagine. You know, because it defines input actions, which is like IA move. Thank you so much for the follow, Cuddly Zenny. I appreciate that. And so yeah, the IA move, you know, you kind of find the value type, and it goes into the input mapping context, and then, you know, you kind of define the actual input mapping thing here. So it's like the left thumbstick, for example. So I'm assuming that is the similar stuff. I wonder if it's still available. Yeah, like under, no, I don't think they have it anymore. Oh, they do. Because back when you don't use input mapping and stuff like that, it used to have these things inside the project saying like action mappings and axis mappings and stuff like that. So it definitely seems like a similar thing, because this is also in project settings. But Unreal moved to this enhanced input stuff, but probably not applicable. But again, just connecting dots for my own sake of trying to learn. So we got our input. Awesome. So you can detect whether a key is pressed using input.isActionPressed, which returns true if it's pressed or false if it isn't. So this definitely feels like a brute force checking. Again, I'm not 100% sure the best way to kind of structure these kind of things. Like, should you make a class or a component or a node or whatever for input detection and handling, and then you attach that to any kind of character that you want, just so you don't have to redefine things all the time and keep writing these scripts under this process delta function. MP, I haven't seen anything along those lines for Godot with mouse inputs, but for keyboards, you can make modifier keys. Yeah, control shift, everything like that. So know that with every node on the left player, animated sprite, if you can edit its properties in the inspector on the right, then you can add in code too. Then you can go to node tab for signals and groups, signals to get nodes to talk to one another, groups to categorize things like an army of imps or pack of wolves, and it'll apply to all those enemies in that group. Okay, good to know. I appreciate you both helping me out. It's good to know. It's good to have educated people in the chat helping me out here, so much appreciated. So we'll follow the tutorial. You know, we're not going to question anything at the moment. But I do wonder if we would make, maybe you guys would know. So it's up to you. You can make classes inherit from other classes. Yeah. So I wonder if you would make like an input handler, I guess, node or class, and then you would just attach it. And maybe in that one, you would define some things you would want to put in, but we'll see. So var velocity makes sense. Equals vector 2 dot 0. So we zero it out every frame. Got to make sure that I don't do the C++, you know, semicolon at the end of the thing. So if input dot is action pressed. Okay, so there is action just pressed. Does it give me a tooltip on it? That's a shame. I personally make character classes, then the player inherits from that. With all the inputs set to that, I'm sure there are totes on Couch Co-op though. Okay, cool. Good to know. Okay, and then you define these things as a string, and you can see them here. So he does move right first. Okay. Now, is there a way? So velocity dot x plus equals 1. Where does he go? Okay, he normalizes the speed at the end of the script. Control and click something for docs on it, I think. So control, click something. Awesome. Dude, that's awesome. Okay. So this is the whole class input. Okay. Good to know. And then just pressed. Okay, but not as good as I was hoping it would be. Let me go back to the script. Again, I'm doing C++. I gotta forget about the semicolon. Notice at the top right, search for help. That's all the docs for all the functions in the engine. Search help. See it. Okay, awesome. So just pressed. Okay, bool is action just pressed. Returns to when the user has started pressing the action event in the current frame or physics tick. It will only return true on the frame or tick that the user pressed down the button. This is useful for code that needs to run only once when an action is pressed instead of every frame while it's pressed. Okay, so possibly that's equivalent to these triggers that exist in enhanced input. Because you can have different triggers like hold, down, like hold and release, press, and stuff like that. So maybe that's like a similar kind of equivalency that I can make in my mind here. So if exact match is false, it ignores additional input modifiers and the direction for input event joypad motion events. Returning true does not imply that the action is still pressed. An action can be pressed and released again rapidly and return true still. So as not to miss input. Due to keyboard ghosting, may return false if one of the action keys is pressed. Okay. Definitely got to appreciate the documentation. That's clutch. Always a big complaint with Unreal development and stuff like that. You know, lack of documentation or very, cut and dry documentation. Okay, so next, so we do it for left, down, and up. So if input, so input is a class I don't need to include, which is nice. So we do move left, velocity dot x minus equals 1, right? Okay, cool. I don't know UE variable, but I assume it's defaults with direct x based input. Godot is more focused on raw hardware input. Tell me to be quiet. No, go. No, I appreciate the conversation and the discussion in the chat. Don't worry, Cuddly. It's, you know, we're learning. I'm learning. So you can even use the func underscore input event, then event dot is action pressed. Interesting. Okay. So based on what you're saying, it would be like func underscore input event, and then it would just be event dot is action pressed. Okay. So underscore input is like underscore ready, they're virtual. Okay. So the, well, I guess the reason why I'm assuming the reason why they're doing this in Delta is so that you can do plus equals 1 and just, you know, on tick move, I guess, 1 pixel in that direction. So I wonder if, so basically when we do underscore input event, we would have some sort of like, I guess like instead of var being speed, I guess there would be like a var for direction, and then you would kind of define the direction and then tell it to move. So how do you define? Let's see if I could do it this way, just so I can maybe try to learn something. So I think underscore input would be used for like unhandled inputs. So for example, I'm not like, why do I keep moving this? Oh yeah, I also defined the variable wrong. I keep putting semicolons just out of habit. So I wonder if I can divide, like I'll do comments here. Like if I wanted to define like a vector 2D for like, you know, X and Y, and then under, you know, is action pressed, you know, move up, I would then define, you know, the vector 2D as, you know, 1 and 0 or something like that. And then I would use this vector 2D as like the velocity here. So like, you know, velocity dot x, you know, plus equals something, you know. I don't know if that's right. Just thinking out loud. So basically using like the input functions to update this variable and then reference that variable on the tick here on the processing here. So var velocity equals this vector 2 and then these values. But for now, again, I'll just follow the tutorial to a T, just for the sake of getting something out the window here. So boom. So now we do if input dot is action pressed. We'll do move up. Velocity dot y, and I'm guessing up is positive, so plus equals 1. Okay, so in this tutorial, okay, so up is minus. Okay. I gotta rethink everything in 2D. Totally fine. And then if input dot is action pressed, move down, velocity dot y plus equals 1. And then we do if velocity dot length equals 0. Do velocity equals velocity dot normalized times speed. Okay, makes sense. And then we play animated sprite 2D dot play, or else we tell it to stop. Yeah, 2D messes me up sometimes too. I think Godot considers plus as downward because that's how pixels are rendered on the display. Yeah, because typically on the display, 0, 0 is in the top left corner, positive X is moving to the right, left is negative, and then down is positive because it's drawing downwards because it goes from top left to bottom right. So it does make sense. Yeah, in 3D, yeah, in 3D context, up is up, down is down, you know. Makes sense. We just gotta remember about that. And then I'm curious what the dollar sign means. Because this tutorial isn't saying which one to play, because it's saying I can define either up or walk. But in the tutorial here, it doesn't specify anything. Maybe in a little bit, the tutorial will specify. Because I think if it doesn't take anything, is it gonna be okay? Maybe, maybe not. Else, animated sprite.2d.stop. Cool. So we start by setting the velocity to 0, 0 by default. The player should not be moving. Then we check each input and add or subtract from the velocity to obtain a total direction. So for example, if you hold right and down at the same time, the resulting velocity vector will be 1, 1. In this case, since we're adding a horizontal and vertical movement, the player will move faster diagonally than if it's just moving horizontally. We can prevent that if we normalize the velocity, which means if we set its length to 1, then multiply the desired speed. This means no more fast diagonal movement. Nice, nice. Makes sense. Tip, if you've never used vector math before or need a refresher, you can see an explanation of vector usage at vector math, and maybe we can read that as well in a little bit. We also check whether the player is moving, so we call play and stop on the animated sprite 2D. I'm guessing the dollar sign, okay, so it means it's a shortcut for get node. You can pull and drag a node from the left into the code window. You can't really. That's pretty sick. Thanks for that tip, Byron Grace. I appreciate that. All the little small things that you can maybe pick up over time. Oh, and you know, the tip's about to read this. So dollar is shorthand for get node. So in the code above, the dollar sign animated sprite 2d.play is the same as get node animated sprite 2d.play. I'm wondering, just for my own sake here, if I rename this animated sprite 2d to be just, you know, animation, does this then not compile? Or is it still know that this is like the class animated sprite 2D as the type? Would I be able to say now animation dot play? I can. So I guess it will then accept either one. If you control plus drag the node, it becomes an onReady definition variable of the node. If you control drag the node. Okay, that does that. So onReady var. Okay, so if you want to create basically a reference variable to this thing, so I guess you can you like declare that at the top? Click then control. Okay, got it. So, for example, if I wanted to do something like this, I can then say like that? Or does this have to be on ready as well? So would it be more, because like this at that point it's not a global variable, so I would need to define it up here. So I could say something like that maybe. just for funsies, let's do it that way and see what happens. Hopefully we don't forget about it. The unready is like underscore ready, but shortcut. Okay. Interesting. Cool. So I'm not 100% sure if this will work. We'll see what happens. So in GDScript, $sign returns the node at the relative path from the current node, or returns null if the node is not found. Since animated sprite 2D is the child of the current node, we can use $sign animated sprite 2D. Now that we have movement direction, we can update the player's position. We can also use clamp to prevent it from leaving the screen. Clamping a value means restricting it to a given range. Yes. Add the following to the bottom of the underscore process function. So position plus equals velocity times delta. Position equals position dot clamp. Then vector 2D dot 0. So it clamps from 0 to screen size. So that's why we had to get it before. Yep. Value min max. Notice the left. Yeah. So luckily, you know, the experience I have in Unreal helps a good amount. We know clamping. So the delta parameter in the process refers to the frame length, the amount of time between the previous frame. Using this value ensures the movement will be consistent even if the frame rate changes or drops. Click run current scene. So F6 and confirm you can move the player around the screen in all directions. Okay, moment of truth, I suppose. Okay. Checks out. So I wonder... Because like when I start... Because when I do F6, for example, I start at the top right corner. I wonder if I can say bar position okay, so area 2D, so original in native class. So there's already the position. That's good. So that's why I didn't have to define it. Easy. I hope you end up enjoying Godot. The quick cycle of editing and experimenting is so fun for me. Yeah, it definitely gives the vibes of quick iteration and prototyping and stuff like that, which I'm very excited about, especially on the 2D space. All my experience has really been with Unreal for like the last decade, since Unreal Engine 3. And it's what I use for a living, for professionally. But I'd like to expand my knowledge a little bit. Try to get into 2D space, be able to prototype fun little mechanics here and there. Maybe make small games, you know? Yeah, some people just don't like Unreal. That's totally understandable, especially if you want to do 2D stuff. You know, Unreal is not for you. And Unreal, you know, it does a lot of... It has a lot of things in it that are not quite necessary for certain types of games. Originally, it was built for, you know, shooters and things like that, and not really for open world stuff, but now they're creating things and tools for open world stuff. It's really for AAA, AA game development, and indie, maybe. It depends on scope and stuff like that. If you want to know where that position is from, and I'm not trying to be patronizing, so sorry if it seems that way, but you go to the node, then you go to transform, and you hover the position tooltip, you find its property. Good to know. I do through these, just like I don't Unreal for many little personal things. That's fair enough, you know. Everybody has their own preference. No judgments. Okay, so it's good to know positions built into Area 2D. So I can say, for example, position equals screen size divided by 2. And does that mean now I'll start in the middle of the screen? Yes. Good to know. And let's plug in my controller. Yay, we got it. Okay, so that's good to know. Then we're moving with joystick, all good. Obviously the clamping could be better. I don't know if this is what the tutorial is gonna have me do, but we can definitely use like offsets of the sprite size, I assume. So clamp. So I guess it would have to be like, is there like a, so collision shape 2D, I guess is what I need. So I'm using, it wanted me to use a capsule size. So is there a way to get like the X, Y? Because there's size, there's like a scale, but there's no like explicit size. There's the notification stuff. So there is shape, but that doesn't really return what I wanted to do. There's position.x and scale.x, but scale, I don't know if that's what I want. Because scale is 0.5. Is there a way to go back to the scene? Because yeah, we have collision shape, it's a capsule shape, 2D. We have the positions, we have the scale. At the very top, we click 2D. Okay, thank you. And then you can go to the script level, sweet. So yeah, we have this capsule thing, but I don't know like what this dimension is. Because obviously, I believe with capsule, at least in the 3D space, you have the height and then you have the radius. So it has the X and Y. I'm not sure where that exists here. Because obviously, okay, so you have radius and height. I'm stupid. Okay. So I should be able to say, so radius is our X, height is our Y. So script, so I wonder, how can I write this? So collision shape 2D dot shape. I guess I can maybe search for help. So capsule height. So there's capsule. So properties, float height and float radius. So can I say, so something like this potentially. So you want to animate the collision shape with the animation of the player. If the collision shape is also the size of the entire character, you could also use just the size of your character without referencing the collision shape. That's also a good idea. So error, expected end of statement after expression. So in theory, I could say what, like, because the area 2D, what do we have available? Do we have anything with size, length, or width? Or do we have, so there's area, so these are properties. So area 2D is this region of 2D space defined by one or multiple blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. gravity, method detections. So how do I get the size of my character? Because I would maybe I would want to try to use the capsule shape, honestly. Because I would think, like, you know, collision shape 2D, or it would be like, you know, capsule shape 2D, you know, capsule equals like this dot shape. I feel like I would imagine that would be like a valid thing to write. I have to head off to the store. Thanks for the chat and the stream. We'll leave the stream while away. All right, I appreciate that, by her grace. I appreciate it. Have a good day if we don't see you. So why is this wrong? So found identifier instead. So expected end of statement after expression. Found identifier instead. So can I say something more of like that? And see, this is incomplete. So unexpected player in class body. So that's not anything. Let's see. So GD script get capsule shape 2D height. Let's see, trying to find dimensions. So shape y get node dot shape dot height. Let's see if that works. Plus collision shape 2D dot shape dot radius. Okay. So so we're clamping. Let's say minus the same thing. I'm just curious what this will result in. F6. Okay. So invalid operands vector G and float. Okay. Makes sense. I'm trying to open up things alongside you so I can read and look better. Sorry, my eyes aren't what they used to be. No worries, Cutley, no worries. So that makes sense. Again, I'm adding a vector and a vector 2D and a float. So I should really say something like is shape a shape? I'm sure this is wrong too, but let's see. Yeah. So it's an object. So can I say, you know, vector 2, it's vector 2. So character dimension equals. Now, how do I define a vector? Is it something like this? And I say Okay, so no. So GD script. So there's Godot, there's these things. So GD capital shape, you got height, radius, but that's all that gives you. So GD script, define vector to variable. So it looks like it's just parentheses and not brackets. Makes sense. So something like that. Still problematic. Okay, so if you want to do the method without referencing the collision shape, it would be transform.getScale.x. If you want the collision reference, collision.transform.x. Interesting. So we're saying transform dot get scale then transform dot get scale. Fine. That's, yeah, that's also not right. What's wrong here? Or is this something I should? Let's do var character dimension. And maybe we could do this at the top. So, oh yeah, because I can't declare it as a vector too. I'm doing C++ again. So character dimension equals maybe something like this. Oops. So this is wrong. So expected closing after grouping expression. Get scale. It's the function x is to get the scale. Right, yeah. I want to try it this way though. Oh, like what's wrong here? Is that not how you define? Or do I have to say vector 2 like this? Okay, so you have to define vector 2 like that. So now I should be able to say plus character dimension, screen size, the thing, minus character dimension. Let's see if this even compiles. Okay. It's kind of right. The y dimension, I believe, has to be height divided by 2 because it's the full height. So now this should match better. Yes. That's good. We got that going for us. It'd be nice to be able to like, is there a way to have it so that if I press escape, it'll automatically exit out of the game? Maybe that's one of the predefined things. Not sure. So if you get an error in the debugger panel that says attempt to call function play and base null instance on a null instance, this likely means you spelled the name of the animated sprite 2D node wrong. Node names are cane sensitive and hashtag node name must match the name you see in the scene tree. We don't have any problems with that. If input equals then get tree queue free. Okay. So you would do if. So if input dot is action pressed. There's UI cancel. Is there anything for like escape? Okay. Okay, let's add that to our project settings. Input map. So escape or exit game. Add. Okay. And then, so UI cancel default is escape. So there is one that exists. That's good to know. And then there's get tree dot queue. There's delete, but there's no queue underscore free. Is delete the one that we want? Maybe just free? Yeah, free seems accurate. Let's see if that works. It does. So attempt to call function stop in base null instance on a null instance. I'm guessing it's because we try to, so we free, and then by the time we free, animation is no longer valid. Free is an option. Is there quit? There is quit. Oops. That seems to be safer. So we'll stick with quit. So yeah, thanks for that, Cuddly. I appreciate it. Okay. So choosing animations. Now that the player can move, we need to change which animation the sprite animation 2D is playing based on its direction. So that's something we wanted to try to do. We have the walk animation, which allows the player to walk to the right. The animation will be flipped horizontally using flip H property for left movement. We can also have the up animation and then flip V for downward movement. Let's place this code at the end of the process function. Okay. So if velocity.x is not equal 0, we say animation. I guess animation is not really a good name for this. So smooth, yeah, dot free equals remove node, queue free equals remove when safe, quit would be the same tree safely closing the client. Good to know. And then animation dot false. Okay, so if we are moving left and right, so that's the X, we choose walk as the animation, flip vertically, we don't want it, and then depending on if we're moving left or right, we want to flip horizontally. So that's what that means. Easy enough. Elif velocity that equals 0. Almost the same ideas here. We'll copy that. And it's going to be up. And then flip V is going to be based on the velocity Y. Like that. And then we have to, this is where I'm kind of confused a little bit, but maybe we'll understand it in a moment. Like the animation.play and animation.stop. So animation.play, is that just playing whatever animation is first? So, you know, disregarding what we just wrote here. We have animation, we have up, and we have walk, right? So does it by default play up? Also, just to test my theory, Godot, GD script, group commenting. How do we do that? What's the syntax for that? Multi-line comments. All right, triple quotation marks. Like that. I keep pressing F5. F6. So it doesn't play any animation. Okay. So it does play up and down. Okay. That was confusing for a second. So it does play up. And that's because it's the first... one here. So if I switch these, can I switch the order? Yeah, exactly. So you can specify it if you wanted to. I'm just kind of curious what it was by default if you didn't specify the animation. And it seems it plays just in order from top to bottom. Like it plays up. It doesn't ever switch to walk, for example. So I just wonder if there's a way to, it doesn't seem like there's a way to switch this order just to test that theory, which is fine. So yeah, let's go into our script. We're in our script, so let's get rid of the comments. So that should be better. And I guess I have to then, I guess I don't have to specify anything here. So the Boolean assignments in the code above are common shorthand for programmers since we're doing a comparison test and also assigning a Boolean value. We could do both at the same time. Yeah, that's fine. I get that. Play the scene again. Check animations are correct in each direction. So let's try that. Okay. So invalid operator. Oh, I gotta specify .y. Whoopsie. Let's try that again. So up, down, left, right. Yep. Cool. We see. Yeah, I guess it does. It does array 0. I mean, we can check that, right? Like control play. So place the animation with key name. If custom speed is negative and from end is true, the animation will play backward. Blah blah blah. If this method is called with that same animation name or with a no name parameter, the assigned animation will resume playing if it was paused. I can only assume, like you said, it just takes the 0 index, the first index of the array of animations, which is fine. Makes sense. At least it plays something. So play this again, check everything's correct. A common mistake here is to type the names of the animations wrong. The animation names in the sprite frames panel must match what you type in the code. If you name the animation walk with a capital W, you must always use the capital W. So when you're sure the movement is working correctly, add this line to _ready so the player will be hidden when the game starts. Okay. So hide. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Easy enough. So preparing for collisions, we want the player to detect detect when it's hit by an enemy, but we haven't made any enemies yet. That's okay because we're going to use Godot signal functionality to make it work. Add the following at the top of the script. If you're using GD script, add it after extends area 2D. If you're using C#, add it after public partial class player area 2D. So I also wonder if is it just based off preference if you use C# versus GD script, or if there's any benefit to one or the other? We'll see. So signal hit. So I'm guessing signals are more of like a delegate callback kind of thing from Unreal. So for example, we have our player, we have our elf, for example. We have a capsule component for collisions, and it has these events like on component hit, overlap, all these kinds of things. And then you can basically add this, and then you get this kind of signal. So I'm wondering if that's more or less the same idea. Probably is. Either that, or we use this signal, so when we save that we're hit, we send it back to the, or we broadcast it out, for example. So something along those lines, I'm sure that's what that is. Will be corrected soon enough, I suppose. So this defines a custom signal called hit that we will have our player emit or send out when it collides with an enemy. Okay, so it is like a delegate. We will use Area 2D to detect the collision. Select the player node and click the node tab next to the inspector tab to see the list of signals the players can emit. So, node, player, you have hit right there. Notice our custom hit signal is at the top. Since our enemies are going to be rigid body 2D nodes, we want the body entered body 2D node. So body entered right here. Click connect. And I guess we do we connect it with hit somehow? Or do we connect it to collision shape? So blah, blah, blah. Godot will create a function with the exact name directly in the script for you. That's nice. You don't need to change the default settings right now. If you're, so maybe I just do connect from here because that's where the script is. It's mostly preference, but C# requires compiles, documentation is complete, and GDScript is essentially a translation for the user to C++. The entire engine editor is written in GDScript, but the engine itself is written in C++. Okay. If you're using the .NET version of Godot, you can have both scripts of C# and GDScript in one project. Okay, good to know. I'm just going to stick with GDScript, I think, for the time being. What's the advanced tab? Add extra call arguments. Okay, so you could make, unique things in there. Interesting. Okay, we're not going to do that just because we don't want to break anything. So connect, boom. So on body entered. So we're basically making the signal here. I get that. So note the green icon indicating that a signal is connected to this function. This does not mean the function exists, only that the signal will attempt to connect to a function with that name. So double check that the spelling of the function matches exactly. On body entered, boom, boom, boom. So this is where we hide again. And then we do hit.emit, okay? So there is, so hit.emit is its own thing. That's fine. Okay. Must be deferred as we can't change physics properties on a physics callback. Okay, so we do a deferred thing here. So collision shape 2D dot set deferred, and then we say disabled true. Okay, good to know. Yeah, one more benefit of GDScript is you can make the scripts build into the node if you so wish. Just makes it so you don't have to separate script files. Okay, cool. So each time an enemy hits the player, the signal is going to be emitted. We need to disable the player's collision so that we don't trigger the hit signal more than once. So I guess for just general collision detection and stuff like that, for like platforms, for example, you know, you would want to use this to like kind of set the position in that kind of Y. I hope there will be more tutorials for like platformer stuff, just so I get a better idea of how to set some scene like that. For now, it's whatever. Disabling the area's collision shape can cause an error if it happens in the middle of the engine's collision processing. Using set deferred tells Godot to wait to disable a shape until it's safe to do so. That's good that that exists. That's nice. So this is the last piece to add to the function we can call to reset the player when starting a new game. So func start. Position. I don't want post, it's posish. Like that, position equals post. Show. And then, I mean, is it okay? Like, do you always want to be using set deferred? Because this time they're using, you know, dot disabled equals false. Would we want to do set deferred instead? I'm not sure. I don't know about the official Godot tutorials, but there are a heap on YouTube. Definitely go check that out. Thank you for the heads up for those. So with the player working, we'll work on the enemy in the next lesson. Okay. Okay, let's go. Okay. I don't know how much longer I want to be streaming for. It's already been an hour and a half. Usually don't want to go too long with these things. Let's do the enemy and we'll call it a day, right? So creating the enemy. Now it's time to make the enemies our player will have to dodge. Their behavior will not be very complex. Mobs will spawn randomly at the edges of the screen. Choose a random direction and move in a straight line. Okay, simple enough. We'll create a mob scene, which we can then instance to create a number of independent mobs in the scene. So node setup, click scene, new scene. Okay. Scene. New scene. So click scene, new scene. For the top menu, add the following nodes. So I'm guessing other node, rigid body 2D, name mob, add child node, animated sprite 2D, add child node, collision shape 2D, and then visible on-screen notifier 2D. Interesting. Okay. Okay. The plus icon next to your scene is also a shortcut button for new scene. Okay, so that's, I'm guessing this thing. No, that's a new node. I'm probably just info dumping at this point, sorry. So to the right. Okay, this thing. Got it. Thank you. So we're gonna save that, we'll call it mob. And don't worry about the info dumping. It's all good. It's good to know and learn. Okay. So we got all those notifiers and stuff in there. Don't forget to set the children so they can't be selected. I believe that was, I guess, it was another 2D and then like this, right? So there's our player scene. Here's our mob. Select the mob node and set its gravity scale to 0. So inspector, gravity scale. Okay, because it's a rigid body, it has gravity, makes sense. Yeah, but learning things when you don't feel like learning, it isn't too helpful. If it becomes a problem, Cuddly, I'll let you know. Don't worry. Okay, so this will prevent the mob from falling downwards, makes sense. In addition, under the collision object 2D section, just beneath the rigid body 2D section, collision group, and uncheck the 1 inside of the mass gravity. This will ensure the mobs do not collide with each other. Interesting. Okay, so rigid body 2D, collision object 2D, collision. So mask 1. So by default, it is 1. So that's good to know. So set up the animations part 2 like you did for the player. This time we have 3 animations: fly, swim, and walk. There are 2 images for each animation in the art folder. Okay. So animation. Animation. Sprite frames. Like this. Okay. So we're going to call fly. This next one, swim. And this last one, walk. Okay, and then we could dump them. So flying. So here's fly. Boom. Swimming. Boom. Walking. Boom. But the animation part 2 like we did for the blah, 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 blah. So the animation speed property has to be set for each individual animation, adjusted to 3 for all 3 animations. So 3 FPS. Can I select multiple? No. That's a shame. Okay, let's play. Nice, nice. Cool, cool. So you can use the play animation buttons on the right on the animation speed input field to preview your animations. We'll select one of these animations randomly so that the mobs will have some variety. Like the player images, these mob images need to be scaled down. Set the animation sprite 2D scale property to 0.75. Transform scale 0.75. Boom. Like the player image. Okay, so as in the player scene, add a capsule shape 2D for the radius. So how is it? Okay, middle mouse is what lets you move back and forth here. Good to know. So collision shape. So the shape we want, they say capsule shape 2D. Yeah. Okay. To align the shape with the image, you'll need to set the rotation property to 90. Boom. Now we just match it a little bit better. Is there a way to like tell it to stop? Thank you. How do they do it? What does theirs look like? Did they give an example? No. I'm gonna say that's fine. Okay, so now we gotta create a script and add it to the mob. So I think that's attached script. So GD script inherits rigid body. Yes. Mob. Okay, great. Create. So let's see. And the script should look like this. Yes. Now let's look at the rest of the script in underscore ready. We play the animation and randomly choose one of the 3 animations. So var mob underscore types equals actually animated sprite 2D dot sprite underscore frames dot get animation names. Okay. So for sprite frames, sorry, this seems not wrong. Okay. And then we do animated sprite 2D dot play mob types. So random integer modulus mob types dot size. Okay. Shift control while dragging those are snap values. One is incremental, the other is snap definition. By default is 1. Okay. I'm assuming you're referring to like collision shape if I hold like this, if I'm holding this. Didn't seem to work. Those gizmos. Like doing shift. Not really doing it. Seems like it's pretty smooth. I'm not sure. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. Let's go back to the script. Okay, so first we get the list of animation names. Okay, so that's the whole array that we talked about. Walk, swim, fly. We then need to pick a random number between 0 and 2 to select one of those names from the list. Array start at 0, so rand I modulus n selects a random integer between 0 and n minus 1. Okay. The last piece is to make the mobs delete themselves when they leave the screen. Connect the screen exited signal of the visible on-screen notifier node to the mob and add this code. Okay. So we do visible on-screen notifier node on-screen exited. Connect to the mob. Like that, and then Q underscore free. Kind of what you mentioned earlier, Cuddly. Okay. So this completes the mob scene. With the player and enemies ready, in the next part we'll bring them together in a new scene. We'll make enemies spawn randomly. I'm guessing there will be have the script for like a mob manager kind of thing. Maybe that's what the main scene is going to be doing. It's like managing the mobs, spawning them and stuff like that. So we'll go next. Yeah, so spawning mobs is one of the categories here. So I think that's where I'm going to end it for today. I don't know. Tomorrow I'm probably going to be streaming Unreal Engine stuff. I'm not sure how often I'll be streaming Godot stuff, but I am wanting to learn this stuff. So keep an eye out for these streams if you're either interested in Godot or in Unreal Engine 5. The title of the stream will let you know what I'll be working on that day. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end it for today, guys. Thank you to both Cuddly Zenny and By Her Grace for the follow and for chatting. I appreciate the communication and the learning. If there is anyone else watching that isn't already following me here on Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated as we grow and try to learn together. So enjoy your Sunday, have a good one, and I'll see you very soon.